Okay, so you're obviously awake, and you're clapping on the right beat, so thank you. So now take that energy and stand up, and we are going to sing Oh Happy Day to start off our service with that same enthusiasm and energy that you just had, right?
You're here with us in person and also online. We're grateful for everyone that's attending here at Unity Church of the Hills this morning. So we would like to give everyone a blessing, so you can repeat after me. We love you. We bless you. We welcome you. And we behold the Christ you are. Yes, indeed. Now, if there are any newcomers, feel free to raise your hand or perhaps stand. Oh, wonderful. Excellent. So glad to have you here. We really welcome you into our UCOH family. It's a very loving place here, and we know that you will find perhaps community that you need and want. So we're grateful that you're here. And we, what's next? Just Roderick? Not just Roderick. Not just Roderick. Our special Roderick. Is going to be ringing the bowl to welcome everybody in.
Sweet, sweet Spirit, Mother, Father, God, thank you. We come together today to celebrate life in all its joys and all its messiness. We come together in oneness, one heart, one life, one love, one spirit. We come together to say thank you, to express our gratitude for each other, for this church, for all the blessings that we get to share. We come together today in joy, in peace, in healing, and again in love. In this moment, our hearts go out to the people in Turkey and Greece that are suffering, that have died. We send a special blessing of light to that part of the world, to those people whose souls have moved on, to those people who lost loved ones, to those people who are just devastated by the thought of how will I go on? And we just offer them our strength. Send to them our love. Send to them our sense of oneness with them that's uplifted by the knowledge that there's only God here. We're so grateful to be able to stand here, sit here in the oneness. And so it is. And so we choose to let it be. Amen.
My name is Dan Stasek. I'm attending here since 2001, and I want to speak about the class that I offer every month. First, I want to thank the church for allowing me to teach this Learn to Meditate class. It's my favorite class to teach, and I'll tell you why, all right? The definition that I go by when I start my class is I say meditation is liberation of the mind from disturbing and distracting thoughts and feelings. I'll say it again. Liberation of the mind from disturbing and distracting thoughts and feelings. Does anyone have a mind that goes round and round? Okay. So the goal of the class is to take you to a place where that mind stops and there's just silence. It's not about, visioning, walking through the woods, nothing like that at all. And the technique that I teach is from Swami Rama through the Himalayan Institute. I don't add any steps to these that I teach. There's no Dan yoga here, okay? It's as pure as I can make it, it's a great opportunity for folks. So I've got a list here to make sure I say all the things that I'm supposed to say. When is the class? I teach it the second Tuesday of every month. So this Tuesday is going to be that second. It's also Valentine's Day, so you can't forget that. When, where? We have it over in the building over here at 7 o'clock, and the cost is a love offering, and all the proceeds go to the church. So know that you're sending the money there. Who can attend? I've had children and 80-year-olds attend. The children are no problems, but the parents are, okay? So please, children, bring your parents, okay, just to keep them in line. Why would you want to meditate? Well, all I can say is that I started meditating 25 years ago, and my life is so much better now than it was then. I'm married to Lindy, so that's proof right there. I'm in a very, very good place. There's a table in the foyer that you can come and ask me, talk to me. It's a great opportunity, and I'd love to serve you and help you in that way. Thank you. Cindy?
Thank you. Before I start the announcements, I've been told to say that there's a red Toyota with the license plate starting NXJ that is parked under a tree with a very precarious limb. So you might consider moving your car. All right, we want to thank the branch cleanup volunteers. Our campus ground cleanup efforts are coming along nicely. Thanks to a bunch of kind folks who pitched in to help. UCOH members, staff, board members, Boy Scouts even helped. Even some new folks who thought they were coming to the Dr. Joe Dispenza meditation stayed to help. And thanks to all of you who brought food. It was a joyful time of fellowship as well as working alongside friends. Many hands made light work, and we're grateful for all those helping hands. A celebration of life service will be held for our beloved John Camden this Saturday, February 18th at 2 o'clock. John served faithfully for many years here at UCOH, and you are invited to come and honor and celebrate Joe along with his wife Kay, family and friends, and enjoy a time of fellowship in Friendship Hall immediately following. The bookstore has an announcement. Unity World Headquarters is giving our favorite classic Unity books a fresh look with new cover designs. So take advantage of this opportunity to purchase the old ones, which actually still look pretty darn good, I think. They're 50% off as we release the old and welcome in the new. So what better way to celebrate Valentine's Day than with Divine Love with Charles and Myrtle Fillmore. So stop by the bookstore soon because there's a limited supply. We have planned for Peace of Mind. Save the date to join us for Your Life, Your Legacy, a free presentation and luncheon on Sunday, February 26th, immediately following the Sunday service in Unity Oaks Legacy Suite. Elizabeth Kingsley of Dignity Memorial will present simple steps to document and communicate your final wishes for your celebration of life or your memorial service. Lunch will be provided. Click on the reservations for events in the Unity website. And now join me in the vision statement. We are an ever-expanding community of love and acceptance where lives are transformed.
Give myself away. I give myself away so you can use me. I give myself away. I give myself away so you can use me. I give myself away. I give myself away so you can use me. I give myself away. I give myself away so you can use me. Here I am, here I stand. Lord, my life is in your hands. Lord, I'm longing to see your desires revealed in me. I give myself away. Oh, I give myself away so you can use me. I give myself away. I give myself away so you can use me. Take my heart, take my life as a living sacrifice. All my dreams, all my plans, Lord, I place them in your hands. I give myself away. I give myself away so you can use me. I give myself away. I give myself away so that you can use me. I give myself away. Oh Lord, I give myself away so you can use me. I give myself away. I give myself away so you can use me. I give myself away. I give myself away so you can use me.
Can you all believe that Roderick sings for us every Sunday? I was moved by that. I don't know if y'all were, but I was definitely moved. I have a question for you this morning, and that is, have you ever seen something being birthed before? I mean, maybe puppies or kitties, or you might have even seen a child being birthed. I haven't, but you know, we're so fortunate today that we have things like the internet and broadband and fiber, and they can bring those sorts of things right into your very own home so that you could witness something like that. And then, of course, you know, we had COVID, and we were all sheltering in place and staying home, and you might have turned on the TV a few more minutes than you usually do, and even you might have even signed up for Netflix, and you might have even watched a series or two on Netflix. Personally, I did. And one of the series that I really liked was called Call the Midwife. Call the Midwife. And any series where they speak with that British accent is going to get me, okay? I like that. But it's pretty wholesome, and the characters were nice and well developed, and you got to know them and like them. So I liked that series. But of course, the midwives were there to help women give birth. And most of the time, it was, at least in the beginning of the series, it was in their own homes. So the process would go like this. The woman would be pregnant, and she'd call the midwife. So the midwife would come to her home, and then she would begin to ask questions. And she would ask questions to determine if the space was going to be suitable for a newborn. And she would ask questions to find out maybe if there were things in the space that needed to be removed for it to be safe for a child. And then they would also bring a bucket of supplies that were going to be necessary for when the delivery actually happened. And then, when it was time for the woman to actually give birth, when she went into labor, they'd call the midwife. And the midwife would get on her little bicycle and pedal as fast as she could to the home because she wanted to be there to assist in the birth, to be the coach. Now, she would coach, of course, the pregnant woman, did the work. But the midwife would coach her into, okay, now breathe this way. Okay, now you gotta push. See, I was really kind of amazed. There was a lot of breathing and a lot of pushing that goes on in that process of birth. It takes a lot of effort, and wow, my hat is off to all of the women that do that. Definitely. And so then now you think, okay, great, we're gonna have this baby, it's gonna come out all pink and dry and fluffy, but no. When the baby comes out, it's messy. It's covered in fluids, and then that needs to be cleaned up, and then there's the afterbirth, the tissue that the baby was held in the womb has to be delivered and cleaned up, and the whole process is kind of messy. Birth is messy. And even after that event happens, then there's still more work to do, because after the baby emerges, well, for them to emerge into what you really want them to be as a beautiful, healthy, older child, there are things you have to do. You got to feed them, change the diapers, clothe them. There are a lot of things that have to go on to tend to them. And so in this series, sometimes the women needed help with that, so they would call the midwife. And she would come on her bicycle. So you might be saying, Jean, that's well and good. I'm glad you enjoyed that series. But what does that have to do with me? Well, it has a lot to do with me, and it has a lot to do with y'all, because the process of birth is always ongoing. See, there's a cycle of life, and it not only happens with people and puppies and kitties, but it also happens in many other ways within our very own lives. There's a cycle, and how it goes is that there's a creation phase, and then there's a sustaining phase, and then there's a deconstruction phase where what has been built and enjoyed, it's time for it to pass. And then there's sort of like a void before the whole thing starts again. It's a cycle of life. And as we are told by Dr. Sue Morter, we're always birthing into a new expression of ourselves. So we are always being birthed. We are always being turned into something new. That's good news, right? We like new. The advertisers figured that out a long time ago. They put new and improved on the box. It's much more likely to end up in our basket. So they know that. And even at Unity, in some similar-minded churches, we call ourselves New Thought. It's new. It's different than the old religious way of thinking that a lot of people have had. And in New Thought, we say things like, what you think about, you bring about. So we realize that even that we can change and become new within our own lives. That change your thinking, change your life. We say those kind of things because we've figured out that that's true. If we can, like Dan mentioned, that mind, if we can get that mind to not run over the 85, 95% negative things it's talking about and actually have something positive that we want to have manifested, that it's much more likely to do so. So we know that in New Thought. That's why Charles and Myrtle Fillmore, who were co-founders of Unity, they called it practical Christianity. It's because we can use it to support ourselves in this life. We can use this newness and the power of thought to add more joy to our lives, to give us more fulfillment in what we're doing. Practical indeed. Practical indeed. So we want this newness. So how does it happen that we're ready for a birth? Well, so it could, let's just say on the spiritual side. So you found a spiritual way of living and you were really excited about it and you started buying and reading books. By the way, our bookstore has great books. It's the only metaphysical bookstore here in Austin. So you bought books and you read them and you went to seminars and you did your prayer and you did your meditation and you were on this path and life was really beautiful. And so you kept doing those things that you were doing, but then somewhere along the line, it may seem a little flat. Maybe like, well, I'm doing all of these things, but I'm not feeling the same way I used to feel about it. Or something just isn't clicking for me like it did. Perhaps there's a habit that we've had that we never got rid of that is kind of nudging us a little bit. You know, it's really time to let go of that. Or perhaps we've just gotten complacent. I mean, things got so good that we kind of eased up on our practices. That was easy to do while we were watching Called the Midwife. Wasn't it? But at some point, we begin to have this feeling of not being quite comfortable again. Something's nudging at us. There's something, we may feel like we're lacking something, and we may not be able to define it. This is called divine discontent. Divine discontent. It's when the box that we have been living in has become too small for the bigness of who we're becoming. See, we're always evolving, we're always growing, we're always expanding, raising to higher and higher levels of consciousness. And where we are gets too small to hold that. Divine discontent. So, when this happens, it's time for a new birth. Now, Eckhart Tolle tells us that real inner growth usually does not come when things are going well. That's not where awakening happens. Awakening comes when chaos breaks into your life. Doesn't it happen like that a lot of times? You'll be rocking along and then something will come and just upset everything. And then that's when we realize, oh, it's time for me to birth something new here. Because I don't have what's needed to handle this thing that's going on, this chaos that's going on. One thing we know is change is inevitable. It's going to happen because it's the nature of the presence to continually evolve. So it's going to happen in our lives with our permission or without our permission. So the question is, do we approach it with intention and with some form of grace? Or does it take us kicking and screaming? It is our choice. Now, it may be that we decide that, okay, I'm kind of ready for a new birth, but maybe I don't want to give up the things that I've been doing so that I can make space for this new birth. Well, Afeni Shakur says, you can't change anything without causing some degree of disruption. It's impossible. That's exactly what change is. Disruption. Disruption. So, is anything trying to be birthed in your life? Is there something that's been nudging you a little bit? A lot of times we get those nudges around the first of the year. We make resolutions and things like that. But we know, don't we, when it's time. Because it's always happening. Our church right now is undergoing a birth, isn't it? We've had a lot of disruption. Mm-hmm. But we're going through that process, and we're the ones to be the midwives, to bring what needs to emerge, what wants to emerge, up. And yes, the disruption that we've had has been messy, and birth is messy. But it is also so rewarding, so fulfilling, so worth it. I have some tools that I brought with me this morning, and I like acronyms. Today's acronym is AGE, A-G-E. And so it stands, it's sort of like as you age, you will be birthed many times. You can think of it in those terms. So the first A in the acronym stands for ask. Ask. In the life visioning process, which is a very powerful process, where we're in a meditative state, asking the higher self certain questions about what is the vision for us. One of the questions is, what must I release in order for this vision to manifest? And that's one of the questions we want to ask when we're in the birthing process, is what do I need to release so this birth can happen? See, we have to make space for the new that's going to come in. We can't just keep glomming it on top of what is already there. So what is it that we can release? Now, sometimes this is a scary question, because if we're still in a state of duality, we can think, okay, if I say I should release this, then that means that I'm flawed. We can think, I'm not doing something right. You know, that old thing about being right or wrong. We could think, I'm wrong, and therefore I have to release something so I can now be right. See, that's the dualistic way of thinking, but we're so fortunate that in New Thought, at Unity, we have a couple of principles that can help us get out of that fear of asking the question. And the first principle is that there is one presence, one power, one. And we're not talking about, okay, this big God over here and then there are no other gods over here. We're talking about everything is this one presence. There's one energy. There's one consciousness. There's only one. That means everything I see is this one. Every one I see is this one. And then the second principle follows it. I must be made of that very stuff. So it's not like the one went over here and took some clay and made me and then breathed a little bit of itself in me. No, because then the clay would be outside of it, right? No, the presence took part of itself and formed each one of us out of itself. We are that presence. It is how it expresses itself, by creating. And so if we are that presence, can we ever be wrong? I don't think so. Can we ever be lacking something? I don't think so. Can our lives that we've lived up to this point have been a mistake? I don't think so. Instead, the presence wants to explore, wants to express, wants to, through many, many different experiences, find out how it can express in an even higher way. That's all we're doing here. So when it comes time to ask that question, what do I need to release? What do I need to let go of? We can know that it's simply because that thing that served me before is no longer needed, so I can let go of it. Not that we're wrong, not that we're bad. There's no judgment. It's just that, okay, it's time to let it go and to move on for what else this essence wants me to have in my human form. Now, sometimes we resist the change. After all, ego doesn't like change. We could call it the protective personality. That's a little bit nicer. But it doesn't like change, especially if you're talking about spiritual change, because spiritual change brings about fundamental changes in our lives. And the protective personality would rather rock along thinking it's in charge. Well, Carl Jung knew this and said, the birth of the self is always a defeat for the ego. Always a defeat for the ego. In recovery, there's a book that's called Alcoholics Anonymous, but a lot of people in recovery call it the Big Book. And there's a step that it talks about in there where you take inventory. And what it says is that you want to take an inventory, you want to take a look inside because you don't want to be holding on to goods that you can't sell anymore or that have no value, that have expired. You want to get rid of those. Get rid of them promptly and without regret, it says. We want to be able to do that, to let go of those things so that we can move on, so that we can surrender to the process without fear. So we ask. And remember, who are we asking? We're not asking something up there. We're asking our own higher self, our essential self, the self of us that was before we came and became human in a body, the self that exists always. That's who we ask. What is it that I need to let go of? What wants to emerge here? And then we listen for that voice. We listen for that voice too. So that's the ask, that's the A. Now, we're at the G. And once we've listened and heard what it is that we need to be moving on, the G stands for get with it. Get with it. It's time to do it then. And it helps us to know that, yes, birth is going to be messy. We know it's going to be messy. We're going to go into it anyway. I mean, after all, when you plant a little seed in the ground and it starts growing up, it's got to disturb the earth to push through. Or like the little chicken in the egg, has to poke and crack that eggshell. It's messy. So we just know, okay, it's going to be messy. We know it. And we remember that, if nothing changes, nothing changes. So there's going to be disruption. And there's going to be effort. Maybe a lot of pushing and a lot of breathing going on. There's going to be some effort that's required here. And so what kind of effort might that be? Well, if you're talking about your spiritual life, perhaps we have to get up 30 minutes earlier to do our practices, maybe. Or if we're sensing maybe a lack of spiritual community, maybe we need to volunteer at our spiritual center here at the church. Or if it's something like, I don't know. If it's something like our health, perhaps we buy food that's a little bit more healthy when we go to the store. But of course, if we're really getting with it, once we get that food home, we have to eat it. We can't just let it stay in the refrigerator until it's past its prime. Is it still there? Oh, it is. Maybe in another day. Maybe in another day, it'll be, I'll just have to throw it out. No, we have to eat it. If that's what we're doing. We have to get with it. And so, maybe you're saying, well, I'm feeling this urge. I know I need to birth, but I'm not really sure what it is I'm to do yet. So do not fear about that, though, because remember, we are the presence. And the presence wants to evolve. It wants to grow. So it's not going to hide what is yours to do. It's not going to hide it from you. It's going to make it known. And it'll be clear. You'll hear a voice. You'll see something. You'll hear a song on the radio. You'll just feel led to go up to someone and talk to them. Whatever it is that it's yours to do, it will be made known to you. Don't be afraid that it won't. Now, another thing that we can do when we're getting with it is to prepare not only emotionally, but also to prepare physically. And one of the best ways to do this is by using the breath. Now, in Call the Midwife, they do a lot of breathing there. And one thing you notice is that the way they breathe is in harmony with what's going on with the rest of the body. And so we also want to breathe in harmony with what's going on. So there's a particular way that energy flows through us. And if we can breathe in alignment with that, it will really help clear blockages, and it will help us be able to accept things at a higher level and be able to act at a higher level. And the way that happens is that energy flows down through the body, down into the earth, and then it comes back up, stepped up, and then it goes out and circles around. You might have seen pictures of angels with something like wings on them. That was simply the energy field being made visible to certain people. So if we can breathe in alignment with how that energy flows, then our lives will be so much better. So in the meditation, we'll be doing a little bit of that breathing. But when we're getting with it, okay, we want to breathe like that, always in the belly, always through the nose. We want to breathe like that whenever we feel overwhelmed about what we're being asked to do, or whenever we're not quite ready to give up what it is that we have to give up, or when we're in utter joy at what's emerging. All of those times we breathe. We breathe. And this is how we get with it on a physical level, in addition to the spiritual, emotional, mental. So that's the G. So we're down to the E. And the E is emerge. So Reverend Michael Beckwith tells us, remind yourself of the good news often. Right before you have a breakthrough, you have a breakdown, a releasing. We talked about that. But when you come through it, transformation has happened. Transformation. That's not, I got a little bit better. Transformation is something new. New emerges. There's a birth that's happened. And the work is not over once just that one event has happened. Like with a little baby, there are things that we have to do to tend, to raise, to grow up, whatever has birthed itself in our lives. We give it our attention. We hold it in love and prayer. If we need to change our schedules, we change our schedules. If it's health we're about, perhaps we sign up for that yoga class. But you know what I'm going to say? You have to go to the yoga class if you sign up for it. We emerge. We emerge into this new thing, but we take care of ourselves. We take care of what's being born, of the new little shoot coming up from the ground. We tend to it. I mentioned before, right now, our church is in a birthing process, and there's a lot that needs to be tended here. And there are many ways that we can do that. We have a community garden out there. It's almost spring, so guess what? They're going to be needing to be weeding and planting going on. We have a hospitality team that they not only make coffee for us and put out sweets, but they're there to make us feel welcome, to make us feel like we're part of this community, to give us a space to gather together. In the youth and family department, there are places where you can be with the children and help teach them that they are the presence, that they don't need to feel bad about themselves, that they don't need to go through everything we went through, if that applies to you. There's so many places that we can tend, in addition to holding in prayer and love. And so in this emergence, we tend it, and then we get to behold what amazing thing has come forth from this whole birthing process. Individually, we've been through a lot in our lives. I know every one of us has. In this church, we've been through a lot. After all, we came to earth to do the heavy lifting. That's why we came at this particular point in time, to do that. So the question I have is, what are we waiting for? Thank you.
the silence, there is a sacred place, a secret meeting place. Love is there. In the silence, where every color blends and every rainbow ends, good is there. In the light, now you find that you know peace of mind. And in the silence, your path is paved in gold, and all your dreams unfold. Love is there, peace is there, truth is there, God is there.
This is our time of meditation. And we settle in. We feel ourselves firmly grounded, firmly planted on the seat or standing on our feet. And we realize that we are that presence. And so from the eternal essence of us, we begin the breath. And we start with the breath. We're going to be moving it up and down the body. And if you can't feel it, that's okay. Just imagine it. That we start above our heads and keeping the breath in and out our nose, we inhale down through the head and the throat and the heart into the belly. Big Buddha belly. And then on the exhale, still through the nose, we exhale out through the root and down into the earth. Then on the next inhale, we inhale up from the earth, up into the belly. And exhale up the spine, past those beautiful eyes and out the crown. And for the next breath, we repeat the process. We breathe in from above, all the way down into the belly, deep in the belly. And exhale out through the root. And then up again, up into the belly. And exhale out through the top of our head. We might sense the field circulating in this way. We allow ourselves to feel our oneness with all that is. And in this place of safety, intimacy, trust, we ask ourselves, in this birth, what is it that is mine to release? And what is it that wants to emerge? And we listen in the silence. We continue the breath. Grateful for our small time that we've spent getting to know that essential self of who we are. Knowing that it's always part of us, always guiding, and that we can begin to trust ourselves on this beautiful journey of life and all of the births that it contains. And so it is.
Thank you, Gene. One thing you failed to mention is that there are 85 seasons of Call the Midwife. Like, that show is not really, it's only 12. But in the 12 seasons, there's been a birth after birth after birth. And so it got me to thinking, what season are we on as a congregation as we enter this process and as we give birth and as we move forward? And in moving forward, one thing they don't do in that show is charge. However, for us to give birth and to keep growing, there are some expenses, and that's why we are at the offering time. So as the ushers come forward, I want you to take your gift in your hand that will help continue the birthing of this congregation as we move into season 28, 29, 20, 27? Season 27 of Unity Church of the Hills. And so the ushers come forth. There are ways that you can give. You can give online. You can give via the app. You can give a check, cash. We're going to scratch out that cryptocurrency line because that really ain't working no more. And we're going to go forward with that energy of love. So take your gift, and as we say our affirmation, say it with the energy of giving birth to something bigger and better and bouncing a new congregation. So divine love through me blesses and multiplies all that I am, all that I have, all that I circulate, and I am grateful. From every land to come together. Now is the moment for trusting. We enter in withholding nothing. God's in us, exalted. God's high and lifted up. Sing unto the Lord. Open up your heart. Make a joyful noise in the sanctuary. Sing unto the Lord. Fill your heart with love. Let the praises ring in this sanctuary. Sing. Yeah. Now is the time for all people from every land to come together. Now is the moment for trusting. We enter in withholding nothing. God's in us, exalted, most high and lifted up. Oh, sing unto the Lord. Open up your heart, make a joyful noise in the sanctuary. Sing unto the Lord. Fill your heart with love. Let the praises ring in this sanctuary. Sing unto the Lord. Open up your heart, make a joyful noise in this sanctuary. Sing unto the Lord. Fill your heart with love. Let the praises ring in this sanctuary. Sing. gotta open up your mouth and give God praise. Open up your heart and give God praise. Lift up holy hands unashamed in this sanctuary. Gotta open up your mouth and give God praise. Open up your heart and give God praise. Lift up holy hands unashamed. Sing, sing, sing. Gotta open up your mouth and give God praise. Open up your heart and give God praise. Lift up holy hands unashamed in this sanctuary. Gotta open up your mouth and give God praise. Open up your heart and give God praise. Lift up holy hands unashamed. Sing, sing, sing. Gotta open up your mouth and give God praise. Open up your heart and give God praise. Lift up holy hands unashamed in the sanctuary. Gotta open up your mouth and give God praise. Open up your heart and give God praise. Lift up holy hands unashamed. Sing, sing, oh sing. Sing unto the Lord. Open up your heart. Make a joyful noise in this sanctuary. Sing, sing unto the Lord. Fill your heart with love. Let the praises ring in this sanctuary. Sing, sing unto the Lord. Open up your heart. Make a joyful noise in this sanctuary. Sing, sing unto the Lord. Fill your heart with love. Let the praises ring in this sanctuary. Sing.
Well, here we are. Thank you so much, Michael. We just acknowledge that these gifts and offerings are simply a part of the circulation of life, of that cycle of life. And that we get with it, we jump into this cycle with our hands and our hearts and our finances, and all of these gifts go to make such a huge difference, not only in this church, but as this church does good in our community and even into the world. We're so grateful, and we're grateful that we can give. And so it is. Amen. Thank you.
Great service, right? Yes. Woo. Well, Jean mentioned our garden, and our community garden, like all gardens, is a work of heart. So if you have a green thumb and want to get involved as a garden volunteer, don't miss that opportunity to dig in and help them get ready for spring. Jennifer is so wonderful. She writes these great announcements. Our dazzling devotees of dirt will meet in the garden to dig into the spring planting plan this coming Saturday at 9:30. It's not too late to join Inspiration Choir. They're getting ready to sing on March 12th. So come and meet new friends and enjoy the gift of singing together. Practice is on Wednesday evenings at 7 o'clock in Legacy Suite. You can connect with a prayer chaplain for one-on-one prayer following the service in the chapel. If you're online, you can call the Silent Unity number on the screen, and you will be given the opportunity to either pray with a chaplain on duty or listen to a beautiful recorded prayer. The promo for next Saturday. The masters, the great mystics of the ages, have so much to teach us, each one a model of truth and a whole soul devotion to God, and each one is pointing all of us in the direction of that truth. Join us next Sunday, February 19th, for the 11:30 a.m. service as we welcome Reverend Steve and Mary and drink deeply from the soul-quenching spirit of truth. So you'll want to be sure and be here next Sunday. And now join us for the prayer for protection. The light of God surrounds us. The love of God enfolds us. The power of God protects us. The presence of God watches over us. Wherever we are, God is. All right.
Make us one, Lord. Make us one. Holy Spirit, make us one.